Hello and welcome to TRY Time, your new home for nostalgia from the most important decade in the history of rugby league, the 1990s. In this special video, following the release of the new Rugby League Live 4 video game, we're going to take a retrospective look at the popular 90s rugby league game, Australian Rugby League, which was released on the Sega Mega Drive in 1995. The game features official team names, badges and colours of every ARL club, as well as the names of the 12 clubs which would go on to contest the following spring's inaugural Super League. Representative football is also covered by featuring both State of Origin teams and 8 of the international teams that took part in this year's Rugby League World Cup. One drawback of the game, however, is that all the players in the game are under fictitious names, meaning that you won't get players like Martin Offiah, Jason Robinson, Wendell Taylor, or Kevin Walters. In terms of the game modes, the title possesses the ability for the player to contest a full ARL or Super League season, a State of Origin series, an 8-team international knockout tournament, or if a full season isn't your thing, you can jump straight into the ARL or Super League playoffs. For the purposes of this video, we're going to reenact the famous and historic 1994 World Club Challenge match between Brisbane and Wigan at the ANZ Stadium. The first thing you'll notice is that they are most definitely not Wigan's most famous cherry and white hoops that they're playing in. In fact, it looks more akin to the colours of St Helens, which I'm sure went down well amongst most Wiganers. And the game's got off to a great start. I've lost the toss and I've now booted the ball out on the full from the kickoff. The first thing you'll notice is that it might be too easy to be less than complimentary about the game, but you do have to remember that it was well over 20 years ago when it was released. However, you can see that passing the ball is relatively easy amongst the computer-controlled Brisbane players, and their ability to toss the ball about like they're playing touch in a training session really starts to hamper the gameplay almost from the off. Straight away we also see one of the major bugbears with the game. Players are more likely to run into the goalposts when through than they are to score a try. Whilst I can see this being the source of much hilarity during a group session of playing the game, it really can get annoying after a time. Now, as my Wigan players complete their first set of 6 of the game, one thing that you'll notice is that making a clearance kick on the last tackle is quite problematic. Although I could probably attach some of this to the fact I'm playing this game on an emulator on my Android tablet as opposed to an actual Mega Drive and controller. If anyone does still play the game and also has these problems, then please let me know in the comments. Again, although the game has aged over time, the passing of the ball can actually become quite frustrating, as sometimes it can take an age to get the ball moving from your dummy half after the play the ball has been completed. It'd be wrong to expect to see some of the lightning quick action that the new Rugby League Live game does replicate, but again, it really doesn't make for an enjoyable experience. Here we can see that interceptions take place on an alarmingly greater scale than in any other game since this one was made, or actually even in real life for that matter. However, upon further investigation, it appears that this stems from one of the several bugs and glitches that the original game was riddled with. Although it can be quite beneficial to you when you gain possession of the ball when under the cosh, it can also be bloody infuriating when you're knocking on the door of the opposition try line and suddenly your defence is exposed by the other team's winger buggering off up the field to score. Some rudimentary fouls and errors often go unpunished, such as a suspected knock-on that we've just seen here. This again hampers the enjoyment of the game as some of the realism appears to have been eliminated. At half-time we're treated to a trope of some of the early EA Sports games as we see an animated electronic scoreboard, which I'm presuming were all the rage at the time as they appear in the first couple of even embryonic FIFA games. And after a quick turnaround, we're ready for the second half, and it's Wigan who get the ball back after the restart. Despite some of the game's shortcomings, attacking play can be completed with a minimum of fuss by putting a few passes together and allowing a player to run free through the defence. One criticism that I would have, though, is that the players fatigue too quickly. Now surely we're not led to believe that someone such as Wendell Sailor or even Martin Offiah would tire with a short distance to go before getting to the line. The difficulties attached to clearing the ball means that more often than not, you'll end up trying to play off the last tackle and allowing your opponents to have good field position for their set of six, which again impairs the enjoyment of the game as it can become quite frustrating after a time. Another interception sees Wigan regain possession quickly after conceding the last tackle, and finally we're away. Breaking through tackles is surprisingly easy, and if timed correctly can have devastating consequences for your opponents. In my centre we're in number 4 here, which at the time would have been Barry John Mather, looks certain to score, but he's agonisingly chopped down just inches away from the line. The ball gets spread out wide to the winger wearing number 5, who crashes through and opens the scoring, and the electronic scoreboard makes a comeback to let us know that the 4-pointer is being given. Now this may sound like I'm nitpicking, but this is one of the moments that the lack of licensed players becomes particularly frustrating. Despite the obvious differences, we're just going to have to pretend that it was Martin Offiah scoring the try. And finally we have a successful kick. The system in theory is good and potentially ahead of its time, but the inconsistency of kicking accuracy drags the game down. The frustration attached to the abnormal amount of interceptions becomes increasingly apparent when you think you're making a tackle only to see the ball up in the air after you've inadvertently kicked it, not knowing that you had possession in the first place. We're approaching the last minute now, and Brisbane are pouring on the pressure to try and equalise the scores. Oh, and here we go, we're through again, and it looks like Mather is going to finish the game and seal the victory with a fantastic try. As he approaches the line, here we go. And typical, he's running to the bloody post. Never mind, that's the game won anyway. And I hope you've enjoyed our little trip into Rugby League's video gaming past. If you want to get in touch, then drop me a follow on Twitter. I can be found at TRYRetroRL. And be sure to have a nosy on the first post of the TRY Time blog site as well, which I'll link to in the description. Until next time though, take care.